There are those who speak and those who listen. But every so often, someone shows up who does both with uncommon purpose and an open notebook in hand. Nicole Banks is a power connector, a woman whose network doesn't just span industries, it sparks movements. For more than 2 decades, she's solved problems others run from, built what others said couldn't be done, and highlighted the wisdom of giants, one page at a time. This is Nicole's Business Notebook, a curated circle of brilliance, a behind-the-scenes pass to the strategies, stories, and secrets shared by the experts she calls friends. It's not just a show, it's a blueprint for those bold enough to build. So settle in, because the notebook is open.
Hey, it's Nicole Banks with Nicole's Business Notebook. I have Tab Pierce here, a master of many things, and we are going to break down tips and tricks for entrepreneurs, what you wish that you didn't know, and what he is doing in the future with Network Live and some other things that he has going on. Tab, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And did you call me a master of many things?
Master of many things.
There's got to be a second line to that, like an expert at nothing, something like that.
Oh, I definitely want to give you the props.
Well, thank you.
Self-deprecate on your own. That's
not
cheap.
me. I would never self-deprecate.
Amazing. So obviously, you are a networking powerhouse here in the Valley, but not everybody knows your personal story. And I kind of want to just go straight to the meat and potatoes of things. One of the things that you are most well known for is a $1 million sort of go ahead and behind and how you built yourself back up. So I think that's a great place to start. So can you tell us a little bit about that story?
You want me to tell? I was like hoping, I was thinking, maybe you would be telling the story, but that's totally okay. One of the things that I always go back to and think about is when and there's this whole long process of how we found out that we were $1 million in debt. And it was $750,000 for my company, $250,000 for us personally, because we were dumping funds personally into the company. And when I found that out, you never sit there and go, this might be the greatest thing that ever happened to me, right? That's not even in your thought process. So you automatically go to, I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, I'm a failure. Why? What made me think I could be a business owner? What made me think I could do this thing? And you beat yourself up. And that's really what I did. But it was a series of things. Like one of my peers had said, we'd had this just basically this team that came together of people that I knew that were coming together to help me solve the problem. And there was a lot of ideas, but no, unfortunately to me, what I wanted solved was somebody to go like, whoosh, there's $1 million. That was solved, right? So there wasn't any solve like that. But one of the guys pulled me over afterwards and just was kind of harsh. And he said, I don't know how you allowed that to happen. I just don't know how you allowed it to happen. The irony is about a year later, he got a hold of me and apologized. And he was like, I actually did that at about a 30 scale. Oh. And I said, yeah. I'm like, it's not that hard because, what happened was, I was what I would consider a good salesperson, but at the time, an average business owner. And so we had this client who we had 8 people on contract, and they said, keep the people. We're going to, the contract was up, keep the people. We're going to renew the contract. And that a week goes by, 8 people sitting on a bench, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks. Don't worry, it's coming. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of worrying because that's, each week that's eight weeks I have to pay, right? And so we reached about 6 weeks, and I was like, man, we are really suffering. And it's coming, it's in the works, right? And so being stupid, what you do is you're like, well, we won't pay the IRS because we'll make that up later. Like later on, we'll get this money because it was very lucrative. We'll pay the IRS out, no harm, no foul. And then we also said, but we're going to need some more money. So to pay these guys, just take out a quick hard money loan. And it seems really like stupid, but when you're in the midst of something like that, you're like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Long story short, the vendor, our contact at the vendor comes back and says, hey, I'm getting transferred, so there is not going to be a renewal. Had to let everybody go. There was just a lot of like really like bad storm. Everything kind of collided, and most of it made by me. And, when all is said and done, we were $1 million in debt. And, we went from, I think, 18 employees or 20 employees down to 3 almost overnight. People were jumping off the ship, everything else. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty brutal. But the irony is that it led us to where we're at today, which I would never have thought. So, it's good, but I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't be like, oh, that was so great that time. Let me go reproduce it so I can like get even better. I'd be like, nope, that one and done.
That's amazing. Yeah, hearing your story, the one thing that I was happy to hear is, radical accountability. And when you were telling your story, you definitely kind of shouldered the burden. But, what other sort of like learning instances did that teach you, and that maybe you could give to other entrepreneurs so we didn't have to go through anything like that?
Yeah, that is a great question, because there were some things I learned. But first, that radical accountability, I don't think was there at first, right? People would say like, oh, they still do. They're like, I think it's amazing that you didn't file bankruptcy. And I'm like, I didn't file bankruptcy because I owed $250,000 to the IRS, and the IRS doesn't forgive debt. So I had to, like, my intent was pay the IRS off, then file bankruptcy. So I never want to make it sound like, oh yeah, I looked at it and I was like, we're going to be good Americans, and we're going to be good Americans, and we're going to take advantage of the loophole that's there, that's bankruptcy, and do it. And I would have done it if I would have had $250,000. I probably just would have walked away. But one of the things that, probably the thing I learned, and anybody, and it's whether it's business or personal or whatever, if you're in debt and you get people banging on the door to collect, and they're just ruthless, and they're loud and obnoxious, you start to feel beat up and torn down, and you feel like, man, I'm such a I'm such a failure, right? And I just got all this stuff. And what I finally learned, and we paid the debt off probably wrong. It was my thought was, if somebody has a face, meaning I know who they are, then I'll pay them. If they don't, meaning it's a company or whatever, then they're going to wait. But people that I wanted to keep in my life, I'm going to pay them off, and that. And I think we owed 17 or 18 different government agencies, individuals, whatever. And so it was not a small amount. But what I learned, and this is probably one of the most valuable things, is like they lent you the money. They know there's a risk, and it sucks for them, and it sucks for you, and they want their money, and you want to get them their money, but you don't have the money, but they don't care about that. They still want their money. And what you just have to go like, hey, you guys are the idiots that loaned me the money, and I'm going to do my best to pay you back, but it has to be on my timeline, and you're not going to like it. And we ended up going back and saying, here's when we're going to pay you, and this is how much we're going to pay you. Oh, and by the way, the likelihood, and we are trying to be as conservative as possible, but the likelihood that, as conservative as we are, that we're going to have a hiccup, it's probably pretty high, right? Because it's just unpredictable. And, but you're going to have to be okay with that. We're going to do everything we can. Here's the plan, but don't be surprised if we screw up the plan. And people hated it. And I would say, look, and the option is we file bankruptcy and you get nothing, or here's the plan. You choose. What do you want to do? and they'd go like, rah, yeah, grumpy, and they, you agreed to da-da-da, and they're like, okay, we'll give you a week or 2 weeks. I'm like, nope, that's not what I said. I said, like, with the hard money lender, they're like, we'll give you a week to figure it out. And I'm like, oh, I already figured it out.
Yeah.
And give me a call in 7 months. And they're like, 7 months is not good enough. Oh, I totally get that. I know it isn't good enough. But here's the thing, 7 months. And 7 months to the day, or whatever the time was, I get this text message, and they would always text me in uppercase because we're going to yell at you. Intimidation.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of intimidation that the hard money lender did to us. Nobody else did that, but they did. But I get this text message. I'm at a baseball game, and it's like, time's up. You said whatever, 7 months, and time's up. You got to start paying. And I was like, perfect. I'm actually ready now. But you could just imagine seeing that uppercase text. Like, my heart was.
Oh yeah. That pit in your stomach and.
Oh yeah, and it's like, even though I was ready, I wasn't emotionally ready. But you have to be ruthless. You just have to go like, yeah, it sucks, and I wish it was better, but here we are. And, oh, you're going to ruin my credit score? No, you're not. I already did that. I ruined it a long time ago. So what, can you take it from, I don't know, 500 to 475?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's giving me anything right now anyway, so I don't really, credit score didn't matter.
Right. That makes sense. So, obviously that is a monumental comeback and something to be proud of, and that whole bit. But for those that may not know your other wins and your other experience, what's the tab show? If you could kind of list off some of your good stuff you've done. Hopefully, besides marrying Catherine.
Oh yeah, hopefully that's the pinnacle right there. It's like, it's all downhill after marrying Catherine. Hopefully everything I've done is good. I had a conversation with somebody just recently about how if you're in the public light, you don't get a second chance. So be good and always good, and that doesn't mean you always have to be likable, but you have to have integrity.
Yep.
And that's interesting. I felt like I lost my integrity when I went through all of that, because I had these things I had agreed to and I didn't do them. And one of our core values of my security company is integrity. And every time we'd read that, I'd go like, someday. I would even tell the people, I'd be like, yeah, someday we're going to live up to that. But yeah, that was a win. It was just so hard because it took 26 months to pay off $1 million. So that was a painful win. But, the other things is, writing 3 books and still not considering myself an author. I never set out to be an author. I have a 4th book in mind, but I'm still kind of sort of like, I don't think I'm an author, but I'm like, man, if I write that book, I think I am. Mm-hmm. Because like there's like nothing burning. I mean, there is, but like that would be the first one I wrote that wasn't like just kind of therapeutic or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, starting a security company that's been around for 15 years, running it through the ground, not really, but like what I did with, with the debt and stuff, having that survive 15 years and doing really well with some very large clients. Great. The network live is great. You can always look back and look and say like, well, there's things that, I wish we were doing different, or I wish it was more successful for this. And I don't know that you ever not have that thought. Like, Caliber could be like a $10 billion company and being, man, we should be an $11 billion. I mean, if we just did that, we'd be an $11 billion. I mean, I imagine that's like my nature, not the other. So, with Network Live, there's, we continue to do things, we continue to add things, we continue to try to shake it up. And sometimes, I look at it and I'm like, this would be a great natural progression to what we're doing. But do we want to do it? I mean, do we want to? And then, starting another security company is a big win. But I think a lot of it is, this whole idea that, I'm 60 and I have zero desire to slow down. And I'm not gonna. And it's like, why would I retire? Why would I do these things? Why not just keep going? And that going is what just drives me. And like I hear people say like, well, nobody ever said that, you know, at their deathbed, like they wish they would have worked more. I'm like, I don't know that I know anything that anybody said at their deathbed, you know?
Right.
So I don't know, maybe they do, right? But, you know, I make the joke all the time, like in my world, if I like die at my desk, like, good. I'll go to God. I'm like, I'm ready to work. I was working when you called me home. Yeah. I'm ready to go work some more. So hopefully he's got a job for me.
I'm sure it's on the list, 100%. Yep. So, you know, obviously you have a ton of experience with, you know, Caliber Security Partners and, you know, what you've done. You know, tips for entrepreneurs, somebody who is maybe doing, you know, their 9 to 5, starting a side hustle, making it a business, a solopreneur, somebody just starting their business dream. What would you say?
I would say be realistic and don't buy into the hype and don't buy into some of the mindset stuff that's out there, you know, where people will say things like, you know, you just got to start. And it's like, you know, I was talking to Clifford, right? And I said, dude, like the idea of like you just got to go and you just got to do it. I'm like, honestly, it's bad advice, because if I was like, I'm going to be a UFC fighter, I'm going to get in the octagon. Okay, maybe like just going is a bad idea, right? Yeah. Okay, maybe that's just not a good idea. Mm-hmm. And I could sit there and say, in 6 weeks, I'm going to be in the octagon. Okay, that's probably still a bad idea, right? Right. Okay, in 6 weeks, I'm going to be ready to start to train to be in the octagon. Hey, dude, you're 60. Maybe you shouldn't. I mean, but I believe in myself. Good. Okay. So don't get caught up in the mindset hype. You absolutely have to believe in yourself, but reality has to be part of it. You just can't have the idea like, you know, if you believe you can, you can. It's like, no, you can't. Like I'm not going to jump to the moon. I mean, no matter how much I believe in that, I'm not going to do that. So part of it is like really be realistic. You know, if what your goal is to have your own business, like what's your plan? What's your process? How are you going to? What are you willing to risk? And what are the people around you willing to risk? And like how stupid is stupid? And you know. And realize that no matter how much you believe in yourself or how conservative you are in your goals and your expectation, that you might not be conservative enough. So really like know what you're willing to lose. And for us with Caliber, and to give you an idea, is I had gone to Catherine, this is back in 2010, and I said, hey, I want to start this company. And Catherine's just a massive supporter, almost to the point of like, hey, somebody needs to be the logical one here. And it's obviously not me, so it needs to be you. And I said, I want to start this company. I've got all these clients that said they're going to come, they're going to do this, that we're going to do this, it's going to be great, whatever. And I said, you know, the probably the worst thing that could happen is, you know, we're not going to pay our mortgage. And we'll, you know, probably have to do a short sale on our house. You okay with that? And she's like, I don't think it's going to come to that, but if it does, and it did. And I mean, in 2010, we like, okay, we're going to go and we're going to do this. And, you know, we short sold the house because we couldn't make the payments. And like, I look back, I'm like, man, that was just dumb, but it led us to where we're at. So was it dumb? You know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to know, like, what are you really willing to risk? Because the likelihood, and sometimes it goes much better than you hope. It's never gone better than I hope for me personally. I've never, ever had a business where I'm like, one time it did, and it backfired, but that's funny. Totally forgot about that. But for the most part, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, a lot of heartache, and you have to have the fortitude to just go like, and the resilience to just go like, I'm gonna do it. I believe in it. I'm gonna do it. But you have to ask yourself, can it sustain you? Because people say like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And it's like, yeah, you may not eat either. And so, if what you do is you make, you love making, knitted boots for cats. I don't know how much of a market there is for it and what you have to do and how much you have to sell in order to make ends meet selling knitted boots for cats.
Hey, I know a couple that may buy them, but yeah, it's not sustainable.
I don't know anybody, but I'm sure they're out there.
Yep, perfect. So, this was kind of a realistic cautionary tale of entrepreneurship is kind of what I heard. Any excitement or kind of the other side of the coin, to those that have said, you know what, I'm going to do it. What advice would you give them? You
mean
they've put the time in, they've thought it through, they took the red pill, they're going.
They're like, I'm not listening to you. Okay.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm the word what I don't want to tell people is don't do it. Like that is not the message I want to relay.
Yep.
I just want to say go in with your eyes wide open. Just be aware. That's the only thing. But I'm horrible because I start businesses all the time and it's like I see stuff and I'm like, we can do that. And it's like I've got an idea now for something in Network Live. And then I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, we could do that, but should we do that?
Right.
And so I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's there. It's out in the ether. It's whatever, but it's right. The advice I'd give people is, man, just if you're going to make the decision to do it, just have the fortitude to do it, have the resilience to do it. Just understand that, you need to be consistent and you need to do the same things and, you need to be do the things over and over and over again. And sometimes that consistency wears down and you just don't feel like doing it. And that's when you need to be persistent. So persistence kicks in when consistency starts to fail. And that's something that I try to teach people all the time. It's that's when it's like meat on a bone where you're just like, I'm a hungry dog and I got to go do it.
Right.
That is one of the things I would tell people. The other is don't go it alone. Talk to everybody and if you read this, I think there's 10 signs that you might be bipolar. If you read that, and I'm not even, I mean, it may be funny, but if you read it, it could be 10 signs you might be an entrepreneur. I mean, it is you're just up and down and sometimes you're like, this is the best day ever. And then sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to crash and burn.
Sometimes they're the same day.
Yeah. And sometimes in the same hour, right? I mean, it really just changes. So you just have to be resilient and just hunker down and do it and ride out the bad times because there will be bad times and there will be very hard times. And you have to look at it and just go who is the idiot that created this? Yeah, it's us. So it's you have to be okay, I created this and I wanted this and it's, but I didn't want this. I wanted the fantasy of perfection. And you just have to say, no, I asked for this and I wanted this. And one time I'll tell you this, whether you believe in you're putting it out to the universe or you're religious and it's, you're putting it out to God or whatever. I remember, this is, 6 months ago, and Catherine and I were driving down the road, and I was just in one of my, one of the things that people don't get to see a lot of me, but just when I'm just in just a full on, cynical bitch mode, right? I'm and I'm just complaining about everything, right? And this is stupid and whatever. And it dawned on me, I'm like, wait, I go to God and say, this is what I want to create. And this is all the things I want to do. And then he helps me, and then it doesn't go the way I want it to go. Then I go and I complain. So if I was somebody in the position of God, I'd be like, dude, like, you asked for this, and do you really want it? And how bad do you want it? Because you're not acting very grateful at the moment. And that's the thing is you have to continue on and just go like, I'm great. And this is hard. I'm grateful in my problems. I mean, I live in a day and age where, I'm probably not going to starve. I'm probably not going to go without a roof over my head. I'm probably not going to go out and have to like plow the ground at 4 o'clock in the morning, so is it really that bad?
Yeah, no, along those same lines, it's better to have first world problems than third world problems. So I feel you on that side.
Yeah.
So, as you spoke, one of the things I think that you and I are both passionate about is relationship building. And Network Live is growing all the time. And I know that one subset of who you'd like to work with now are more high-level executives, CEOs, mid-level companies. What are your guys' plans for that and moving forward and Network Live in general?
My background has always been more B2B and that experience of that, $1 million and above revenue. And that's been my experience. And most of my experience has been at the enterprise level where you're talking billions of dollars. And so when we acquired Network Live, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business people and that, but not necessarily business owners. And that'll absolutely continue to be part of what we do. And what we want to do is we want to be able to say, we're going to have a couple of different options for people, right? And so, if you think about how can we do something that nobody else is doing, right? And what makes us unique? So if we have something which is our connections membership, which is that that entry level, it's the every person. I almost said every man, but we take women too. It's the every person, right? Yep. And if you look at that, that's what the connections membership is, and that's going to be there for everybody. The next level, and what we really started with way back in the day, was something called refiners, and refiners is really about refining yourself. How do you make yourself better? It's that refiner's fire, where it's like, steel, forging steel and that. And refiners will which is what we started with, will once again be our premier offering. And that'll be, 8 to 10 people in a room and a peer-to-peer advisory board group. And that'll be that experience. Then one step down will be what is the CSU syndicate, which I know sounds kind of different, right? Syndicate sounds like mobby and all that stuff, right? Which, yep. But the CSU syndicate is really going to be about how do we bring business level owners together, but in a large room. So it'll be before people want to break into the 8 and 10. So, and that'll be ways that we help them grow as a business, because the experiences that I had at Caliber, really the only people that really, really understood what was going on was people that were business owners that were like, I'm like a month away from being you. And that's a very different experience. And if you don't have those people in your life that you can turn to, it becomes very difficult.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, to me, relationships are super important as, both power networkers, and, we have our different styles and such, but, definitely, love to hear that there'll be more offerings for Network Live and, expanding the amount of people that you guys can help. You guys do great work, and excited to be a part of it. And,
yeah, we're not looking to go at taking stuff away. We're looking at adding. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Tab, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share your story and, your expertise and your unique perspective. Any closing words of wisdom for entrepreneurs in the greater Phoenix Valley?
Probably the thing I would say is get out and connect, get out and meet people, collaborate. People don't realize just the depth of impact their business will have if they get out and collaborate with people that are competitors, people that could be partners, people in general, and show up. If you sign up for something, show up for something. Make yourself available. Make yourself visible. I mean, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. Nobody can like, know, and trust you if you're not visible and if you're not around. So you need to be able to get out there and really be all in on that. You know, whether you force yourself as an extrovert to pretend, an introvert to pretend to be an extrovert, or if you're a full-on extrovert, just embrace that.
Yep, I love it. And yeah, similar advice. You gotta actually go do the thing.
Yep, exactly.
I love it. So again, this is another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook. This week we had Tab Pierce, and we are excited to continue to share information and knowledge and wisdom from subject matter experts, power networkers, and amazing men like Tab here in the Greater Phoenix Valley and beyond. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook. Subscribe and follow for more tips, insider secrets, and hard-earned wisdom so that we can all do better business together. See you next time.